as a city and to be able to work for the betterment of these families that we have. We pray, God, as we are joined together, not only in mind, but we pray that our hearts will be together. Wisdom will be given to us as we listen to each other. As we gather information, God, may we put it to good use, and may we use it, Father, to lift up, to encourage, and to bless our city. We thank you for these wonderful men and women. May we have a good and productive session today. And we thank you and bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.
City Council School Board session, work session. I want to welcome all our new members. Could you all stand, please? All the new members for City Council, School Board. And the new member for City Council. We have a couple new members that just joined us this year that haven't been here before. And now I would like to welcome our new superintendent. And we thank the Lord for you. We thank you for being here. And we are here to work with you.
Thank you.
To build our city. And we pray that you have wisdom and all the guidance you need. It's a tough job. And we thank you for standing. We thank you. And now, I would like to turn it over to you for your strategic plan, the plan you have for our city schools. Our superintendent.
I believe Dr. Gupta and Mr. Connor had a few remarks.
I was just
Gentlemen,
going to
before I
yield him
open.
to introduce the new staff from the school set.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Connor.
I didn't want to steal your thunder. On behalf of our Honorable Board Chair, Dr. Tul Gupta, and myself, we want to first of all say welcome and thank you to the Honorable Mayor, Larry Taylor, and Vice Mayor, Kurt Deemer, as well as all the City Council members. We just want to say this meeting is unique by the fact that there are several new people, many who have volunteered to make their education of our students a priority. We want to recognize our new school board members, Dr. Brenda Farmer, Dr. Nigel Aline, Mr. Jabri Poe, and Mr. Mike Barron, as well as our continuing board members, and thank you for your service. It's really exciting is the new team our school district has established to guide our district to new heights, beginning with our new superintendent, Dr. Christy Somerville Majette, and the fantastic team. I mean, if you saw these people at work, you'd be like, wow. But I want to say the new deputy superintendent, Dr. Jennifer Davis. You wave your hand when I call your name. Mr. Travis Marshall, our new chief operating officer. Ms. Tiffany Brown, our new human resources officer. Dr. Chris Sumner, our director of student services. See you hiding over there. As well as our continuing vital team members, Ms. Sonia Jammies, chief financial officer. Dr. John Collins, Director of Technology. Mr. Austin Journey, Supervisor of Communications. Mr. Chuck Yarborough, Data Analyst. And I meant to get our secondary ed and elementary ed. So we got a lot of great people in position, and we look forward to a very, very exciting and beneficial school year.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon again, Honorable Mayor Taylor, Mayor Deemer, honorable members of City Council, Dr. Gupta, School Board Chair, Mr. Connor, our School Board Vice Chair, and members of the LCS School Board and all assembled. Again, I'm Christy Somerville-Majette. Am I good, Mayor Taylor? Okay. And I'm just honored to be with you all here this afternoon as I begin my third month as superintendent for Lynchburg City Schools. Thank you, Mr. Connor, for the introduction and welcome of my team members. As you've seen, their commitment, their dedication, collaboration is so appreciated in the work that they do to support our schools. This afternoon, I have the opportunity to share with you two important items that will shape the future of our school division. And so I do respectfully request that both our school board and city council, if you can allow us to complete the presentations before we open the floor to questions, that way we can ensure that we're going to maintain that level of continuity and ensure that all key information is covered on our end. So the first item is the comprehensive strategic planning process, and this is required by the Virginia Code. Every school division must have a unified long-range plan. And so this afternoon, you'll see the scope of our plan and the timeline we're following. I do want to thank Matt Marsteller and his team for their engagement and guidance throughout helping us throughout this process. And then again, following the presentation, we'll be in a position to answer your questions. So the purpose of the comprehensive strategic plan, as many of you may or may not know, our previous strategic plan, it had expired, and it requires a renewal with that. And as always, Virginia Code requires every school division to maintain a long-range unified plan. When you start looking at plans like this, you have to recognize that there's shifts in community expectations, student needs, and there's always a demand to update our strategies and procedures that we do to support our students. And then as always, we want to ensure that we're aligning our priorities with any city initiatives and then strengthen the outcomes for all of our students here in Lynchburg City Schools. So here's just giving you a general overview of our project planning and how we engage stakeholders through this process. With this, again, you see the Virginia Code, but each one of our plans has to include the following. Strategies that are going to improve and sustain student achievement. And I know I have in parentheses focus on at-risk students. We're going to focus on all students, but that's part of the guidelines that says that we have to focus on all students, but we do have to ensure that we're dealing with students that are at risk, deemed at risk. Looking at our enrollment. And enrollment forecast and education needs. What are some of those trends? Is our enrollment going up? Is it declining? But having that process to look at that and build a plan based on that. Looking at educational technology into our standards of learning or SOLs and our curriculum. And then looking at how we report on our progress annually, we have to have those aspects outlined. And so those are the state requirements, and then you'll see on the right, it's essentially pretty much the same for the school division. It just takes it a step further, just looking at ensuring that we're going to have parent and family involvement strategies, that we're going to look at division-wide literacy, that we're going to post this plan online, also provide those copies, physical copies to families that may require it, but ensuring that we're going to do all of those aspects alongside with the code. Again, from there, that'll build down to the school. After we're finished these plans, and each school is going to be required to have a long-range plan that informs their planning. And then the county accountability piece. How are we held accountable according to priorities, any facility planning efforts? And when I say over the next several years, it's a 5-year plan as required by the Department of Education. And so we've put this information out there just to select a qualified candidate that's going to work with our internal and external public so that we can go through and fill out the full scope of what we're looking for. I want to give you a brief overview of the scope of services. Essentially, like I said before, this firm, once selected, will help us with our division-wide planning. They'll engage stakeholders. They're going to work with students, staff, families, the greater community, school board members, so that we can get just the full gamut of information so that we can make informed decisions and have a very, very well thought out and informed plan. They're going to review and assess our existing division priorities and what are the current outcomes of the plan that we have now. What does our data look like to inform what we're going to do next? Another key piece is they're going to look at our vision and mission and core values. Does it align with where we want to go over the next 5 years? And so that firm will be able to help us with that. They'll look at the things that we do really well. They'll look at some challenges that we may face. And then they'll also help us with any opportunities for growth and look at trends. Like I mentioned earlier with enrollment data, they'll look at trends with enrollment data, academic data, and be able to help us navigate that process. And essentially the scope of services continued there, just working through and helping us facilitate that entire process. So I want to give you just a brief overview of the timeline. We have our pre-proposal meeting on September 11th. Vendor questions are due September 22nd, and we'll post those responses to those questions by the 24th, and then our proposals are due the same day. We have individual evaluations so that this is the most objective process that we can have. Our committee consists of myself, Sonia Jamies, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Connor, School Board Vice Chair, and Mr. Barron, School Board Member. And what we will do in that process, we have to evaluate each company individually so that we're not sitting in a room looking over all of the things and saying, oh, well, you know, I kind of like this and swaying that person in that direction. No, we're going to evaluate all of these proposals individually and then go back and work with Matt to tabulate those scores, and then we'll schedule the interviews. We plan to have interviews around October 22nd, and then after that, begin negotiations with the top-ranked firm. Of course, tentatively, the last week of October, be able to provide that notice of award. And of course, by guidelines, post for 10 days, notify those who were not chosen. And then our goal is to have that contract drafted and sent for signatures in early November. We're really expediting this process. We want to make sure that it's thorough and it's done well, but we want to give the firms enough time to get in and really connect with the school division, connect with the greater community, so that we can have a really strong, comprehensive plan that's going to help guide our next 5 years together. And with that, that is it for the strategic plan. I welcome any questions that you have about it. All right, if none, I will continue to the next portion of the presentation. Thank you. All right, so the next piece is, so the second presentation, it focuses on capital improvement funding that supports our facilities plan. So my team and I will collaborate on this portion. And once again, I do ask that we could hold questions until the end so we can present the complete picture to you all this afternoon. But first, I want to thank the City Council for your agreement to provide the $10 million, $30 million, and $20 million over the next 3 fiscal years to support our facilities needs. As our team began its work, we carefully reviewed the initial items that were listed for fiscal year 2026. And I believe some of those items were decided upon back in the spring. But we started to look at it, and we prioritized our projects based on safety and overall comfort for students, faculty, and staff. So as a result, 2026, when you see this when we get to that portion, is centered on roofing projects, building envelope projects for RS Paint and EC Glass, and then reviving the track and field facilities for both high schools. The funding is absolutely critical to our infrastructure, safety, and sustainability of many of our buildings. And I will say these investments represent not only an improvement to our facilities, but also a commitment to the safety and well-being of our students and staff. It's our responsibility to steward these resources wisely, and we do not take that lightly. And I'm confident in the team that we have in place to do just that. At the same time, coming in new, this work really reflects what's accomplished when City Council and School Board come together in partnership. That is a really I haven't seen a commitment, just looking at other localities, that is a major commitment to your facilities, and that's commendable. The facilities that house our children must reflect high expectations for their education. So as we continue to hone our craft here, to engage students in meaningful teaching and learning, the quality of the learning spaces does make such a huge impact on their success. So with that, I am going to turn this presentation over to our Chief Operating Officer, Travis Marshall, and our Construction Project Manager, Jordan Eubank, to walk you through the details, and I will be back in the discussion shortly.
Good afternoon. So since late July, we have tasked the operations team at Lynchburg City Schools with establishing a clear direction grounded in 3 core values, being safety, sustainability, and stewardship. Safety is our top priority. We want every student, staff member, and visitor to be confident in the condition of our schools and facilities. Sustainability guides our work so that the investments we make today will last and continue to benefit the division for years to come. Stewardship reflects our responsibility to wisely manage resources, both financial and physical assets, on behalf of this community. The facilities team and I are focused on aligning all projects to these core values. Looking ahead, we're tackling improvements from the top down, starting with roofing projects in 2026, safer athletic facilities, and targeted repairs at RS Payne and EC Glass. The envelope projects at RS Payne and EC Glass ensure that these buildings are properly sealed and protected against long-term wear. In 2027, we are hitting the ground running with major infrastructure upgrades. These are investments that protect our buildings, extend their lifespan, and create more conducive learning environments for our students. So this is the overarching spreadsheet that was posted online. It is titled Fiscal Responsibility with Forward Momentum. We have taken a hard look at priorities, project scopes, and cost versus budget to ensure fiscal responsibility while moving our facilities, our students, and our community forward. Every project we bring forward reflects the balance between what our schools need now and what positions us well for the future. As mentioned, in 2026, we are investing in roofs at multiple schools, turf and track replacements at EC Glass and Heritage, and critical repairs at RS Payne and EC Glass. We're also utilizing PAYGO funding to support CTE program upgrades, playground modernization, paving, and fencing improvements. As noted, our Facilities and Finance Committee will be revisiting vehicle replacement funding and school nutrition equipment to determine more efficient ways of funding these projects. The CIP project list for 2026 is a broad package of projects that touches every level of our division. 2027, moving forward, is our heavy infrastructure year. We'll see major AMEP projects, and you're going to hear me call it AMEP moving forward because AMEP stands for architectural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and AMEP is much easier to say. So we will see a major AMEP project at schools across the city. These updates modernize systems, improve safety, and create efficiency. We plan to continue utilizing PAYGO funding for CTE upgrades, the paving and fencing projects, and playground upgrades. This list of projects represents a roughly $30 million investment in Lynchburg City Schools. Moving into 2028, we will shift our AMEP projects to Heritage Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, and Darrington. 2028 will also see multiple elementary school gym additions. These projects support both academics and extracurriculars, ensuring our facilities meet the needs of students today and in the future. On this slide, you will see several of our completed projects as well as projects that are currently in progress. This team is not just planning, it is delivering. Projects like HVAC upgrades at Lincoln, playground improvements at multiple schools, the Laurel Modular Addition, and multiple schools' access control upgrades are either finished or actively underway. This level of transparency shows the community that real progress is happening. As mentioned, we will be working from the top down on our projects. Our roofs are the first line of defense, and in 2026, we will complete replacements at Laurel Regional, Lincoln Elementary, Perrymont, Bedford Hills, and Fort Hill. This sets us up for a healthy 20-year replacement cycle moving forward. Other than Sandusky Elementary's roof, which is slated for 2027, the next major roof project would not be set until 2030. At this time, I'm going to let Jordan Eubanks step in and walk us through some of the finer details of many of these projects.
All right. Thank you all for having me. So here we've got Paramount Elementary School pictured. It's around 22,000 square feet. As you can see, in some of those, there's some light gray spots. That's signs of aging or brittleness in the roofs. And at that point, near the end of their lifespan, is when you start to see increased maintenance costs, et cetera, which is why we have put these projects up at the front of our agenda to get completed. Here we have Lincoln Elementary School, and you can see a clear difference from the roofs that we have replaced versus what we haven't, with the clean white being newly replaced and the darker colors being the older, less efficient EPDM or older TPO roofs. Here we have Bedford Hills Elementary School, which this has a combination of metal and EPDM roofing. This project would be slated only to do the EPDM roofing, and in the same sense, it is aimed at increasing the efficiency of the building with the white TPO roofing that we have slated as our material of choice over the last 10 or 15 years. Then here you have Fort Hill Community School, same thing, the EPDM roofing. You can see the light gray in areas where we're starting to have upcoming issues. And then here is Laurel, the regional program. You can see the light gray colored roof, where that is actually an old ballast roof. And you can see where there's certain spots where it's a little darker in those areas where we've ripped back the ballast to make repairs over the last several years. And here we have a little bit about the timeline for the roofing projects. So we have the design phase is approximately 45 to 60 days. And then we have the bidding phase, which would be around 30 days. And then you have a letter of intent to award, which is, I think, a 7 to 10 day process. And then you have, in that same time, a contesting phase. And then we would award the bid and go through the contract signing process.
All right, so both EC Glass and Heritage have urgent athletic surface needs. Originally, EC Glass's track and turf was the only athletic facility that was in the 2026 conversation. However, upon closer examination, Heritage had just as much, if not the same amount of safety concerns as EC Glasses did. Turf and track replacements have a projected start date for summer 2026 with a completion targeted for fall 2026. Temporary repairs have already been made in the meantime. However, these repairs are costly, and full replacement is critical for safety and longevity.
Yeah, so here in these pictures, you can see some of the damage, and then on the picture on the left, and then on the right, where we have in the last 30 days made repairs to bide us or get us through until we are ready to do the full track replacement. This project would also aim at getting rid of the difference in the level of the track and the level of the field, so we will not have these problems in the future. And then here, this is also at EC Glass. You can see where we've recently made repairs to the goalie box for the lacrosse field. So these are at Heritage High School. So this just kind of represents as the field ages and the sun bakes it over the years, the joints, everything starts to shrink, and so you start having problems at all the joints. And as it says up there, these have been repaired in the last couple months prior to the football season. And then here's just some more photos of the repairs that they have done at this time. All right. This is the Heritage High School baseball field. As you can see, we have some significant damage in these photos, and we have already talked to a contractor about getting these replaced prior to the season next year. But this just represents the aging fields that we have, and that we need to put these at the forefront to get these problems fixed. And here's just some more pictures of the joints. It's the same issue of where they bake in the sun all day and the joints start to show. The RS Payne and EC Glass High School Building Envelope Project. So as Travis had mentioned earlier, the main goal of this is to address the leaks in the buildings. We have, over the past 3 to 5 years, replaced all of the roofs on EC Glass as well as RS Payne, and so now this is aimed at addressing the exterior caulking, the roof flashing, the control joints on the brick masonry. There's a large amount of tuck pointing throughout both buildings, which is brick masonry joint repair, and then also repointing the coping stones along the top of EC Glass, and I believe there's roughly 19,000 linear feet of coping stones to repair. And then also there's some civil work at EC Glass where we're having some drainage issues out front, which will likely take place in summer of '26. And then here's a picture. As most of you may be aware, this is RS Payne Auditorium. This is also slated to be corrected during this project. The goal would be to fix the leaks from the outside, and then that way we can come inside and make the plaster repairs and get this auditorium looking the way it should.
Before you go forward, I just want to touch base. Are we using this one now? Okay. All right. Before Mr. Eubank goes forward, I want to just stop here for a moment with the RS Payne envelope project. One of the things, I've received a few questions just about, what happened to some money that the division received in fiscal year '23. So I want to give a sort of an outline of the information I've been provided, but hopefully this will clear up any of those questions about those funds. So in fiscal year '22, City Council, you all approved $749,856 of your fund balance to transfer into fiscal year 2023 CIP for the RS Payne building envelope repair. So fiscal year '23 would be academic year '22-23. The transfer was recorded into the city CIP. It was coded as YS 743 RS Payne Building Envelope Repairs Project. Well, there were never, based on our research, there were never any expenses recorded for that project number. So from there, we have done some digging into the background as to, I guess, what was happening during that time with that, but there were never any expenses recorded. So those funds have been moved to YS 748, which is EC Glass RS Payne Exterior Envelope Project for use. So that amount of the 749 is part of the money that you saw on the first slide. The first slide with, I believe it was 2.5 million. That's for RS Payne EC Glass envelope repairs. But just letting you know, we did do that research to find out what happened with those funds and where they were transferred from one area to the other. So I hope that will help to clear it up. We do have a few more details as to the timeline at that time as to far as LCS hiring a company to apply siloxane. I hope I'm saying that correctly, to the gym side of RS Payne, and then the city allocating that funding and then going through the process of RFP. But the expenses, there were never any expenses recorded during that time frame.
All right, so we're going to move into CTE World, Career and Technical Education. Through PAYGO funding, we are investing in labs, culinary arts classrooms, and automotive programs. These upgrades give our students hands-on, real-world experiences that align with workforce needs. The projects also create equal access for all middle schools, allowing for all students to take part in the same programs regardless of the building that they are in. At the high school level, the automotive program supports both Heritage and EC Glass students, and this project will make the program more reputable, safe, and up to date. Other PAYGO projects. PAYGO-funded projects also include paving and fencing projects, as well as the playground upgrades and modernizations. I included the photos of the Sandusky Elementary School playground in full transparency because we want everybody to know that the parts for this project have been on order and they are pending delivery in mid-October. We have been honest with the community as they seek these questions, or as they ask these questions, and they've been receptive and honestly happy to hear that the team is taking care of business. At this time, I would like to hand it back over to Dr. Majette for closing remarks.
All right, thank you, Travis and Jordan, just for walking us through those details. Close out again by expressing my appreciation to both the school board and city council for your partnership and commitment to the students in Lynchburg City Schools. We do have an opportunity to not only create safe and functional schools, but also learning environments that inspire excellence. I wanted to take you back to slide 5. Before we open it up for questions. As you can see, Sandusky Elementary School's roof and architectural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, MEP, is slated for fiscal year '27. With the amount of deferred maintenance that has occurred on Sandusky Elementary School, I'm really concerned as we move forward when we start looking at the safety of those conditions in that building. We have children there. We need an environment for students and faculty and staff that's conducive to learning. We have faculty and staff, students that are there. We've had some early conversations, some initial conversations with the city manager, and it's been really receptive. We've been having those initial conversations. But I am requesting that the city council, Mr. Bender, city manager, to have an additional $5.2 million for 2026. This year's fiscal CIP addresses long overdue and deferred repairs. But these repairs are needed at Sandusky Elementary due to the cost of that roof, and looking at the amount that we have for year 1, we aren't able to put all of those items there together. But that maintenance, and I recognize there have been all kinds of conversations, but coming in new and me coming in, my concern is I have students and staff in that building, and I need to make sure that those conditions are favorable for them, for the teaching and learning to occur in the way that it should. So I am requesting that we be in a position to move those 2 items up so that we can handle that in fiscal year 2026, and recognizing that with the economies of scale and being able to have that support with the roof and bidding all those projects out, maybe we'll get a better pricing for those roofs since we would move that up with the others. But definitely wanted to put that out there so that we can continue to have the environment that is necessary and conducive to that. I don't know whether any of my board members that have been here for a while want to give any type of historical context, but if not, I'm definitely open to answering any questions or hearing any comments or concerns that you may have.
And thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
I guess it's a technical question related to the funding from FY 2022. So what I'm looking at here, the resolution that we adopted, that's R23015B on March 14, 2023, it's showing that number to be $839,856. And the letter that was submitted to us was $749,856 for the RS Payne structural and building envelope repair, and then also structural analysis and repair for various schools for another $90,000. I don't know. I just wanted to know if you were aware that it was more than that.
No, sir.
$749,856.
No, sir, I wasn't. And I can go back and do further research. I just wanted, when I was asked the question last week, I wanted to go ahead and get this information as up to date as possible.
And I just want to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure on the city staff aspect of it, if we've appropriated those funds to the schools, that should be there and available for them to spend, in addition to the funds that we just appropriated going into this fiscal year, that shouldn't be something that's clawed back, I would assume, so I want to make sure that we're
Okay. Can we
committing
have
those
that amount?
funds.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure that those funds are committed as they were intended to be committed, that's all.
Could I have that amount again, sir?
What's that?
Could you say that amount again?
Sure, and I'll email you the letter and
Oh,
the
perfect.
resolution. It's,
Okay.
the total was, on the resolution, was $839,856. The dollar amount that you referenced, the $749,856, was for RS Payne structural and building envelope repair, and then it was $90,000 for structural analysis and repair of various schools.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Superintendent. Wow. All right, I won't say anything then. Jeez. Welcome. I'm going to give you a second for the feedback. Sorry. Dr. Gupta and Madam Superintendent, this is a very silly question, but I would love for one of you to answer it. What month are we in? It's a silly question. This presentation has been one of the most informative, warming, 20-minute talks that the school system in Lynchburg has provided me in my 6 years on city council. I'm almost speechless because this is such a simple presentation. There's not a lot to it. There is, but you know what I mean. It's very to the point. Personally, it boils down to our school system is focusing on actual things that our students, staff, and parents are seeing and experiencing over electric school buses. That's where our focus was over the last number of years, on things that like truly matter as opposed to buying more toys. So I commend you and the school board, and I have not said that often, so I mean it to each and every one of all of you. Well done. I'm sorry that you were handed some of the question marks with Horace Payne. That speaks to the problems I had with the last administration. Whether it's 850, 759, I'm sure staff will be able to give us the right number. We made an appropriation for a job to be done and wasn't done. There's no excuse for that. And that this is not directed at any one of you. It's more just to create the context of why this simple presentation is so stinking good. The fact that we're putting new roofs on our buildings, I don't think there were plans for this that I was aware of in the CIPs that we were being presented with. That's fantastic. And Ms. Lowry leaned over to me and mentioned it. The focus on CTE is exactly what our business community, and I see Ms. Lucas here from the Alliance, has been like clamoring for us to do ever since I got elected years ago. Invest more in CTE. I know our mayor's gonna be thrilled with that too. I'm telling you, like, this is what I have been asking for, a number of us have been asking for, and we're finally seeing it. And so for that, I wanna commend everyone in this room. I had a lot of things to say over the last number of years, and it's finally so stinking refreshing. And so I just wanna say thank you. We have more work to do, and I have some questions on the Sandusky funding you're talking about, but I'll pause there and let my colleagues or anyone else speak. and just simply say thank you.
The part is that nutrition equipment. You know, our kids eat meal every day in those, and those equipments are almost at a point of giving up. So we cannot use the CIP money. I know operating budget is done and frozen, but those are important things. People see it day in, day out, you know, those who are working and serving and cooking meals for the kids. So hopefully with mayor and, you know, all the council person, we can keep them in discussion and light as we move forward with our future budgets. That's our humble request.
I divert the entire conversation away from the main presentation, so I'll yield back, but at the right moment, I would have some questions on that front.
Thank you. Oh, gosh. Thank you. Agreed. Wonderful presentation. Very succinct and to the point and very refreshing because I know we've needed many of these improvements for many years, and I'm thankful that the city manager put the $60 million in the budget that we could vote to approve to give to the schools to be able to let you start doing what desperately needed to be done. I love the things that the money's being allocated to. I'm super excited to see these things, and the kids are going to benefit from so many, everything. A lot of it they don't recognize that they'll benefit from because the child doesn't understand the benefits of an HVAC system yet, but they will one day. But they will know other things on here that are important. I do have some questions. I have a feeling some of them will be similar to maybe what Councilman Feraldi will have, but some of the schools that these improvements are allocated towards are schools that I know some of my colleagues have talked about potentially having interest in closing, or there's been school closure conversations in the last couple of years, even that the school board has mentioned. We've had back and forths about different schools closing, and I know there's been conversations that schools will be considered being closed in the next year or two as well. And with that said, if there's plans to allocate funds to several of these schools that have been in conversations in the last year or two for closures in the next several years, I do have questions if this now means that those schools are off the table. Because while it is important that while they're still open, we pay attention to things that are important, if they're going to be considered for closure in the next year or two, I would think we wouldn't be putting a ton of money into those. So I think that we do need to have that conversation. Does that mean these schools are no longer going to be on the table for closure?
I was going to speak to the CTE piece because that was one of the questions I was asked when I was interviewed to be on the school board. And the school board, the school has been working with Beacon of Hope, which has been helpful also, but also with Legacy, Randy Dunton more often. And he was invited to the Academic Success Committee last year to do a presentation, and is now working with Ms. Davis and our team to even have a presentation to the entire body of EC Glass coming up. So, we're really pushing that, and we're getting updates almost on a regular basis of students getting, I think the last one was this morning or yesterday, a student got a job at Delta Star and is making several $1,000s, and they're working on new home ownership. So we are pushing it, and it is going forward.
While we're on the subject of CTE, I just wanted to point out that I think LCS has done a good job with concentrating on AI resilience. Looking at the curriculum, a lot of the curriculum are AI resilient, meaning they focus on careers that in the next 5 or 10 years will be resilient, because as we know, AI is going to really take a lot of jobs away. So I just hope we can keep that focus with the CTE, and then maybe even focusing more on the middle school level as well as some of the restorative programs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the presentation as well, and welcome to Lynchburg. You're obviously focused and you've been paying attention to our priorities. Infrastructure, CTE, all these things show you really are a good listener. And we want to be good listeners too, so I hope we continue to have these conversations between the school board and city council. I was in favor of front-loading the program of 60 million and putting 30 million up front. Instead, we did 10, but it sounds like you might need 5.2 more, which kind of agrees on what we saw. We saw there was ways we could spend it. Regarding school closures and openings, I'm one of those who believes we need to be efficient with the taxpayers' money. And the state of Virginia is very clear that we, school board, not we, but city council as well, takes responsibility that we are efficient with those things. And if there are closings that have been recommended by a lot of consultants, paid a lot of money for that information, I think the adults need to make some important decisions in the next few years. But I'm glad to see that we haven't lost sight that those buildings are still city assets and they need to be taken care of. And just because the school may close does not mean the building will not be used or that there won't be students in it. There are a lot of buildings in the city that are used to do things with students that aren't schools. So they are our property, and just like any real estate or car property, we need to take care of them. If we sell them someday, they can't be junk. We've got to take care, and that's good stewardship, which is one of your 3 points, and I'm glad that's made the top 3. That's awesome. I had one question. I don't want to get into a lot of detail, and maybe you could provide some more information to me later. Roofs are usually done all at one time when it's residential, but I understand with schools it's sometimes piecemeal, and you fix some parts and other parts later. You mentioned that EC glass had been repaired within the last 5 years, I think, and now we're getting ready to repair it again. I'm just curious on these repairs that are on this very easy to read presentation. Is it full roofs? Is it partial roofs? How long do these roofs, are they guaranteed for? Those are the kind of things that come to my mind. If it was my building, I'd certainly want to know the answer to those things.
So yes, we have replaced I believe every single roof on EC glass, and with it being a 400,000 square foot building, it's difficult to do all of them at one time. And so we're at a point now where in the past they've replaced sections, and so now as they come up on their lifespan, we're replacing those roofs to make sure we don't have increased maintenance costs, et cetera, over the next several years. And in this building inventory,
the schedule to be renovated or remodeled or redone. So I have seen what happens when we do budget cuts, how things get pushed aside, how we have aging infrastructure, how so many things are shifted to other resources for other needs. So we need to have old facilities, those things happen. So thank you for the presentation today, and thank you for your dedication for our children and hard working for our children in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're all saying the same thing, but it was a fantastic presentation. Specifically things that are refreshing, clear criteria for decision making. We haven't heard that and that's very helpful for us as we're allocating funds and resources. Clear priorities, a path for accountability, and just common sense. Those were all reflected here, and that's absolutely going to be essential as we move forward in the CIP and partnering with y'all in that. I affirm my colleague Mr. Deemer's comments as far as wanting to front load aspects of the CIP and some of his insight with that. And I look forward to the city manager's suggestions with that, as Sandusky is an asset, regardless in what capacity that's serving the city.
Contractors and how we bring them in, how we are able to arrive at these numbers that we have here. Not that we are questioning the numbers, but just give us a little bit of a walkthrough background in terms of how this process works. You know, is there a bidding process? And are we trying to, you know, how we come up with these numbers would be very helpful for me at least.
Yeah, that's a great question. So back when we did the facility study back in 2022, they provided estimates on how much each of these things would cost at that time. So we took those estimates along with some budgeting for certain pieces and parts of the project, and then made put an inflationary number in there to get us to where we are today, to ensure we would have enough funds to complete the projects when the time came. And yes, there is, for each of these, you know, I touched on the roof project design phase. Obviously for the architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing projects, the design phase is a little bit more drawn out depending on the school. But once we get the ball rolling, we'll send out an RFP for
The vehicle replacement fund, revisiting that, what does that look like once you revisit?
So, as of right now, if you totaled out to the 10 million, which is the red line going across at the bottom of each section, if you total that out to get to 10 million, the PAYGO funding is not part of that 10 million. It is separate from that. So if you total in yes. So we were originally looking at using PAYGO funding for that. However, we have $950,000 that we can use in PAYGO funding this year. We're already pouring into that with CTE projects at $480,000. We have $220,000 for paving and fencing, and we have $250,000 for the elementary playground modernizations. So as we come back to the table to talk about vehicle replacement, because originally we were thinking PAYGO funding for that, but it's not there to do that. So when we revisit it, we're going to want to talk about where we're going to get that funding from. Not that it will never happen. We want that to happen. We think it's a reasonable plan. We think it's a smart plan, and it's something we can be proud of as a school district and hang our hat on that. $150,000 is a great starting point. I'd love to figure out where we can pull it from. So just going back to the table to look where we can find that money.
Just one other thing I wanted to add. I agree with my colleagues that Sandusky Elementary is an asset to the community. And just for the record with our new members, I would like it to go on record that I will support all the money allocated to Sandusky Elementary as long as it stays Sandusky Elementary. I just want you to know that. I don't want it for any other reason than to stay exactly what its purpose for right now. Just want you to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, the mic's on. Dr. Majette, I did email you that. I emailed you that stuff, so you should have it. And again, I appreciate the presentation. One of the questions that I have, got two questions. The first one is, what are you guys doing right now for some sort of fleet program for your vehicles? When we look at this and I see vehicle replacements, is that passenger vehicles? Does that include school buses? What does that look like? Because with the fleet that you guys have, I would imagine there's got to be some sort of program. And if there's not, that would be interesting, and it might be a time to discuss what it would look like working together with the city on that.
Yeah, so currently we do not have a fleet plan. Right now we have a maintain sort of plan where we are pouring into vehicles to maintain them over the years. But we do not have a vehicle replacement plan, fleet plan of any sort in place currently.
That's interesting. What's that? Yeah, see, I think that that's really something that we should be taking a look at here, is looking at options on how we can tackle a fleet, a consolidated fleet in a joint manner to be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. You know, how many school buses do you guys have? Any idea?
I do not know off the top of my head. I'm happy to get that answer for you. It is a lot. It's a packed lot.
And to think that we don't have a fleet replacement plan or some sort of fleet program for our school buses, to me, is, how did we get here? We got to fix that. And, you know, I think Mr. Connor knows how many school buses we have.
I think the part we're talking about are the maintenance trucks and vans.
Okay.
The pickup trucks, vans, the utility vans.
Got it.
For our HVAC, electricians, and other maintenance people that, you know, buses have a separate,
Okay.
separate from those.
Thank you. Good to know. Still, I think we should look at how we can work together with the city on that. And I really appreciate the time and attention to detail that I've seen you, Mr. Marshall, I think on several occasions during your visits, looking at the infrastructure in the schools. And I just wanted to say that being in the schools, I've seen him out there going out and doing his independent reviews of everything. And you can tell when you see how the priorities were laid out here, that you put a lot of time and effort into this and trying to prioritize safety first, obviously, and what matters most. And I appreciate the effort you did in that, because I think that that is absolutely critical when we're looking at these improvements for our school buildings. Safety needs to be the #1 priority for the students, and whatever it takes to keep them safe, whether it's when they're sitting in class learning their vowel sounds, right? Or they're varsity kids competing on the baseball field, right? Same difference. I spend right now, this time of year, 3 evenings a week out at the football field at Heritage High School, and I cannot tell you how many kids I've seen get tackled by the turf. So I appreciate the effort you guys are putting into making those repairs as well. Thank you.
Definitely think the city would be interested in I can't, speak for them, but at least having that conversation to see how they can help. I definitely would visit, speaking with the directors and the city manager to see, how they can help in that area. I think it was 52 or 53 admin vehicles. There are other entities that are outside of the city scope that do business with the city's fleet department, so definitely would take a look at that.
Some of those questions related to the funding items that have been presented here, I don't want to distract the entire group from that, but that seems to be the path we're going, so I wanted to bring those up now, if that's okay. Madam Superintendent, you had mentioned 5.2 for Sandusky Elementary School to be reintroduced in fiscal 26, is that correct? Yes. Okay. And could you walk through again for us what that would look like?
So if you look at, let's go to this slide. If you look here when you look at Sandusky's roof replacement, Sandusky Elementary School, the estimated cost is about 1.6 million. But if you go down to the third line from the bottom, the architectural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing for Sandusky Elementary is 3.6 million. So just those two together was the 5.2 additional to be able to move that project because of the deferred maintenance at that school to move those items up to this fiscal year.
And is that a project that you could break into two separate fiscal years? No.
Well, with the economies of scale, it really would be helpful. It'd be helpful to have both in this fiscal year, but with the roof, putting all those roofs out for bid, it'll be particularly helpful to have that with this fiscal year. But because of the deferred maintenance over time with Sandusky Elementary, I feel like it'd be prudent to go ahead and take care of both in this year.
Sure, I meant more just absent the practicality, just the dollars and cents. It would be easier to do 3 and 3 as opposed to 5 right off the bat. I wasn't considering anything else other than that, but I understood. Here's where I'm coming from. I want to do what needs to be done. No one's going to advocate harder for Sandusky Elementary than the guy in this chair. There's a couple things at play, though. You guys are doing a lot since July. That's why I mentioned September, so I commend you for it again. Is redistricting or rezoning involved in any of these conversations? I know I'm open up a can of worms. You might think I'm coming from left field here, but if closures will or will not be happening, regardless if it's Sandusky or not, I think council it would be helpful to have some idea, and I certainly understand if you're not ready to answer this now, about where we're going. Because one of the common criticisms, both from the public to council and school board, is what's the plan? And parents get caught as a ping pong between both bodies. So that's something that is in the back of my mind. We're similar to what Ms. Reed offered. We're talking about investing these millions of dollars and now asking for more, which on face value I certainly am supportive of. But if we're going to be 6 years from now tearing the building down or not using it for that purpose, was that the right investment? So those are things that are puzzle pieces in my mind. And then throw in this concept with a fleet plan for LCS. Again, that seems to be a good idea. Again, absent looking at the dollars, I don't know why we wouldn't consider that. To put a bow on this, and I know I'm gonna get to my roles, this is a perfect opportunity to get the Lifelong Learning Committee going. To those who are new, council passed a resolution. I believe it was unanimous, I might be wrong, to have a regularly meeting body of members of the council and the school board to work through these items. So by the time it came up for the public to see both bodies hash them out in their final draft, everyone knew what's coming and what it looks like. So I would just submit that to both bodies. These 3 items, amidst everything else, is a perfect opportunity to get the Lifelong Learning Committee going. So if that at least sheds some light, as from my perspective, about asking for those dollars and rejiggering some things, that would be these are perfect reasons to get that group officially moving. Thank you.
That project is currently in motion. The fence is not up. We are still in conversations about that fence, though, and what it should look like. But it is not up, to answer your question directly.
It seemed to be an immediate need at the time for safety for the children.
Can you repeat that?
At the time, it seems to have been an immediate need, something that needed to be done immediately. When the request was made, it was urgent.
Is this because there was two fencing concerns for Darrington. There was one that was requested to go around the playground, and then there was one that was outside of the building, connecting between the corner of the building and the trailer area, going around that side of the building. Which fence?
That fence.
So the fence around the trailer area. So that
Anybody
fence.
could walk in off the street, right into the.
Correct. And I had a conversation with the fire marshal regarding locking the gate. It currently has a lock on it. The fire marshal said we cannot put a lock on that gate. But there is currently a fence there with a locking mechanism, but we can't put a lock directly on the gate.
Okay.
As it's a fire exit.
So we need to come up with another plan.
Yes, we got to get creative.
Yes. We need to get creative.
We are certainly happy to do so.
Okay. And also, I received an email from a friend in Greensville, South Carolina. For security, they're giving their teachers little devices, like when you fall down and you can't get up, the teachers will have these devices. If something happened in the school, they don't have to worry, panic where the phone is or anything like this. They just press that button and you got an emergency. Is that something Lynchburg City Schools could think about?
I definitely think it's something that we can consider. I know Mr. Marshall here is over top for safety, but one of the conversations that we've been having, many conversations we've been having, is looking at all avenues and what are some things that we can do, even in terms of an infrastructure, providing teachers with resources similar to what you mentioned. So we are looking to have further meetings so that we can develop a more comprehensive plan as to how we look at not just providing supports for teachers, but what can we do with our overall physical plan to provide that support and additional safety and security for faculty and staff and students.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Reed?
I want to clarify, am I on? Hello? There I am. I do want to go back to what I was saying earlier about the funding and where it needs to, I think we need to prioritize it. While I understand some of the buildings may be repurposed, which we haven't had a discussion about. So this money was allocated towards schools. That's what it was voted to be put towards, and that's where it needs to go. So if there's a plan in place to close any schools, and that's being talked about, then we need to have that discussion before money is spent on any of these buildings that are being discussed as potential closures. Because it shouldn't be going there. If those buildings will now be potentially something else, that should not be part of this conversation. If in a year Sandusky is on the chopping block, then we should not be spending $5 million in 2026 for Sandusky Elementary School if that is going to be closed and it's going to be repurposed into for another purpose. Even if it has children inside for a community center or whatever, that needs to be a whole separate conversation, because that means it is no longer a Lynchburg City School building. If it's going to be a Lynchburg City School building with a different purpose, still, this is for the purpose and operations of Lynchburg City Schools as we know them right now. So we do need to have a meeting and have a conversation about if there's a school closure plan in place to do something, and any of this $30 million we're discussing is going to be changed or affected by that, I do think we need to have that conversation, because I would not feel comfortable putting some of this money towards any of those buildings that in a year or two may no longer be being used as they currently are. I don't think that's the right way to spend it. That's just my personal thought, regardless of how they may be repurposed, because we haven't had that discussion and agreed to that. So I just think we need to consider that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things. First thing I want to point out, because I know we were having a discussion about school safety a minute ago, Mr. Mayor, and you mentioned the technology from Greenville. I do think it's worth noting the technology that we have here in Lynchburg with Raptor Tech, because we've actually got some folks from the school division that are taking leadership roles, and I think even speaking. I think Mr. Collins is one of them that I've seen here at an upcoming conference, because Lynchburg City Schools is leading the way on school safety. And it's Don Floyd, Anitra Lee, John Collins, and Nick Caputo, if I got that correct. And I think it's just worth noting and recognizing them and the leadership role they're taking in keeping our school division safe. When it comes back to the comments that my colleague just made, I just want to point out that the Code of Virginia is very clear. Section 22.1-79, powers and duties of the school board. It says that each school board shall, and then bullet 3 and bullet 4. Bullet 3, care for, manage, and control the property of the school division and provide for the erecting, furnishing, equipping, and non-instructional operating of necessary school buildings and appurtenances and the maintenance thereof by purchase, lease, or other contracts. It's nice to see this actually moving forward and getting done the way it's supposed to. And then number 4, provide for the consolidation of schools or redistricting of school boundaries or adopt pupil assignment plans wherever such procedure will contribute to the efficiency of the school division. And the reason that I say that is because that's the school board's conversation to have. That's not our authority on city council. The school board needs to make that decision. And I don't think that it's appropriate for us to use city funds as a way to try to coerce a decision out of the school. I don't think that that's a right way to do it. Not saying that that's what it is. That's just a word that popped in my mind at first. But it seems like those funds are saying, hey, we won't support those funds unless you do this. Well, that's not city council's responsibility. They ask us for the funds, and then if we've got the funds, we are able to give it to them. And I just think we need to make sure that the city council stays in its lane regarding this, and that the school board continues to do the work that they're doing, that we have entrusted them to do with our new superintendent, and makes those decisions.
Now we'll have closing remarks from Dr. Booth.
Thank you very much for being here. We all work together. And as I said before, our focus is the child in the classroom. Everything else matters but doesn't matter. The superintendent has a job to lift the academics. That's the responsibility the board has given to her. The SOL scores were in 50s, we gotta take it to 70s. That's what we'd like to hear in the next joint meeting in terms of where our scores are. The kids should be, Councilman Reed, you're very passionate about reading, writing, math, and that's what we are doing, and that's our next step. As you do the step, today we made a presentation of our CIP plan. Next one is the academic step. And that's what, let's not take superintendent's focus away from that in all this political stuff. Let's focus on academics. That's what we are here to provide, a quality learning environment. And that should be the focus, and I'm hoping all my board members agree, right? That her job is to lift the academics from here on, Dr. Majek. And you have the full support of the board, and I cannot speak for the council, to do your job in the way you deemed appropriate to provide a quality learning environment for every child. Thank you.
And we do have a plan to keep the lifelong learning program going, but at this point in time, we're going to give Dr. Majette a little time to get used to everything, and city manager, myself, Dr. Gupta, and Vice Mayor, we all gonna be meeting with Dr. Connor once a month to get something going in this area. That's what we're gonna be working on. And then we'll launch into something else. But right now, we got to get the groundwork done.
We would do earlier this year.
Yeah.
For the record, that is not what you said we would do earlier this year. And I'm going to hold you to it because what you guys are doing is meeting behind a closed door. I think the public needs to see the successes that have been demonstrated today in full form. And meeting behind a closed door speaks to the failures of the past administration. That's what that looking forward is doing things different. This is doing the same thing, and I think it's wrong. And it needs to be stated for the record. Mayor, you said we would put this committee together later this year. It's September. It's on you, Mayor.
We can do this.
It's on you, Mayor.
It's on me.
Put it together.
We'll do it. But right now, we're gonna do what I just suggested. Thank you all. Our next meeting is for City Council is at 7 o'clock this evening, City Chambers. Thank you. Thank you all.